Welcome to another session of Teams in 20. I'm so glad that you were able to join us today. Alvin is going to take us through Viva Insights and give us a bit of a different spin on some of the stuff that we've already seen with Viva Insights, because Alvin is one of our senior specialists here at Microsoft. Now I'm going to stop talking, Alvin. I'm going to hand straight over to you because 20 minutes goes so fast. It's crazy. But yeah, please do put your questions in the chat and over to you, Alvin.
Absolutely. So thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm very excited to spend some time talking about Viva Insight. So in my role at Microsoft, where I focus a lot of my time is on the advanced features of Viva Suite. So I thought that the first place for us to get started on today is just to level set around Viva Suite. I know that you may have heard some of this before, but the whole idea behind this particular platform is to encourage employee experience. So the whole idea is we want to be able to support the drive for engagement, productivity and resilience. And the way that we want to be able to do that is by landing a set of applications which are easily accessible to your organization and employees through the applications that they use most. So all of these applications will be available in Teams, and the whole idea is, you can see on the left hand side there is a few there that are really there to help drive mission and alignment, how people form their purpose within the organization, how they stay in the know, how they have a clear idea around the organization's objectives and priorities. Then on the right hand side, you can see enabling a high performance culture. This is how we give you access to more resources and the ability to drive a learning culture within the organization. Learning should be easily accessible. It should help organizations to upskill, reskill, and so forth. And the access to information should be made easier. And the last part is where we're going to spend a lot of our time today, is on how do we measure the impact of all of the things that we are doing within our organization. So Microsoft provides you with two forms of an employee survey platform. One is an all-encompassing survey platform with Viva Glint. Then you also have Viva Pulse, which is a smaller version which can be utilized by managers. Well, we'll spend most of our time today is really focused on Viva Insights and the value that it does bring. Okay, so first place I'll start with is, for every user within Microsoft 365, what they do have is a wealth of data. Okay, and we call that the Microsoft Graph. And with that Microsoft Graph, it captures all actions and activity that each user has within Microsoft 365. This is the documents that we're working on, the communication that we have, the events that we have in our calendar, and then also the relationships that we have with other users across that M365 estate. So what's interesting is when you start to apply some people science to that information, there's some real good business intelligence that you can gain from that graph data when you start to look at it at an aggregated level. And that is the purpose of Viva Insight. So what is Viva Insights doing? It's effectively looking at your the calendars, the emails, the chats and calls. So we call that as a bundle, the collaboration data from employees across your organization. Now, the interesting piece is, from a personal insights perspective, you're able to get a view on all of that collaboration data for you as an individual, and it's only you that can see that data. Okay, but from a manager and leader perspective, or the ability to build custom reports through an analyst view, what you want to be able to see is, through built-in privacy safeguards, I want to be able to see collaboration data for specific groups in the organization at an aggregated level. And if we can do that effectively, what we can start to do is have a different level understanding about behaviors and ways of working within the organization. So here are some examples of that. So when we're talking about engaged employees, the type of things that we can start to understand with Viva Insights is, how much time are people spending one-to-one with their managers? In fact, what does co-attended meetings look like and team norms? What is the aggregated view of that? How can we start to drill down on demographic data? How can we start to understand things about onboarding and integration? Because we can start to see through the graph data people's network size. So when someone joins the organization, how quick are they building out their network, and how diverse is their network? And how is that impacting the way that they are being implemented or integrated into the organization? Thinking about productivity, one of the biggest topics is about meeting cultures in organizations, right? So we're talking about bloated meeting, multitasking, recurring meetings. How can we be more effective with that? And how can we use Viva Insights to really help us in that area? And then when we're talking about business resilience, and I'm not going to go through all of them, we're talking about things like hybrid working patterns. By utilizing Viva Insights, can we start to understand how the different ways or modes that people work in, how is that impacting the way that we do work? How is it impacting the way that we collaborate? When we think about organizations coming together, mergers and acquisitions, what does that look like? Are we looking at organizations where the different business units are siloed, or can we see that there's a lot of working cohesion and collaboration across those different business units, especially when you're trying to integrate a new part of the organization into the wider organization? Okay, so those are some examples of the type of metrics that can be looked at through Viva Insight. So today's about giving you an idea of the 3 reasons to get started on your Viva Insights journey. And the first one is about business optimization. So I've got an example that I'm going to show you here. And this example is based on the ability to see more in the way of intelligence. So when you look at Viva Insight, what we will provide you with is, as a starting point, 10 out-of-the-box reports where we've given you a set of metrics and information to be able to understand more about behaviors within your organization. So when you look at this example, you can see here on the left-hand side, those are all of the templates in one place. Okay, and when you start to look at this particular template, this template is called the Impact Explorer. And what we're looking at here is the time and impact associated with this fictitious organization we've got here. So you can see straight away, that's roughly the estimated amount of hours that could potentially be repurposed. And what we're able to do is put a cost to that. When we talk about that amount of hours that can be repurposed, what is the cost to the business, or what is the impact or the opportunity cost? So what we're saying here is, if we can use a sliding scale to understand what the average salary, hourly wage is of people within your organization, we can start to quantify and give you an estimation of the opportunity cost of those amount of meetings or repurposed time. And what we've got here is a breakdown of what that looks like. So things like, if we were able to shorten meetings or optimize our recurring and long and large meetings, we can start to see what the potential impact could be on the organization in terms of time saving and the ability to repurpose. The good thing about Viva Insights is it allows you to upload your own HR data. So things like really bringing in attributes from your HRIS, really pulling on data from within the Viva Insights platform, which is going back 13 months in time and collecting historical data from 13 months of your graph for all of your employees. For those who are using it for longer than a 12 to 13 month period, that window will extend to roughly around 27 months. Okay, so this is an example of how you could leverage Viva Insights to get a good view on reporting early on. And just to let you know, behind all of those templates that we do provide, there are some real granular reporting areas that you can deep dive into. So this is an example of what that looks like. The second reason is bringing employee survey data to life. So when we think about traditional surveys, what we will do is we'll ask people how they feel. But the interesting piece is we never get to understand how their working impacts the way people feel. And that's what Viva Insights gives you. So the example we've got here is employees give feedback, but you can gain data intelligence. So the example is, I can get the support I need from my manager. Okay, and people will respond, strongly agree or strongly disagree. But what we can do with Viva Insights is really help to validate that. And how we're doing that is by understanding for that individual or group of individuals, roughly how much time are they spending with their line manager, and what is the impact on how they feel they've responded to that question. So here's the example. We're in the survey platform, and now what I'm showing you is some opportunities for improvement for this particular organization. And as you see Insights logo next to some of these opportunities, this means that there is telemetry data or behavioral data associated with that particular outcome. Viva Glint is the only platform on the market that will have Viva Insights embedded into the platform natively. Okay, so let's go forward. If we click on that, we go to prioritization, I can now start to see, okay, if I move forward, that when we click on prioritization, I can now delve into this particular area and I can start to see all the behavioral metrics that are associated with prioritization. Okay, so if I was to move forward, okay, and click on this particular area where it says manager one-to-one time, what I'm able to do here, okay, is start to understand how one-to-one time with managers is impacting the way people feel about prioritization. And you can see here, those people who've scored unfavorably tend to spend less time on average with their managers. Okay, and we can click through and start to understand, dependent on the amount of time that they spend with their managers, what are the comments that they've provided against the survey that are directly linked to the amount of time they're spending with their direct report. Okay, so quite some powerful stuff there. The third part that I want to be able to share with you is how we use Viva Insight to measure the impact of CoPilot. Okay, so when we think about CoPilot, we're thinking about a cultural shift for our organization. We're thinking about a new way of working. But what a lot of our customers are yet to understand is, how is this impacting, influencing our behaviors and the way that we work? Are people spending less time in meetings because they now have an option to help them summarize? Are they building stronger and better connections across the organization because it's easier for them to write pieces of communication? Are they socializing better because they've got support communicating on the social platform? Is it easier for them to source more information? We don't know what those behavioral changes are, but with Viva Insights, we can start to get a good view on that. So when we look at the CoPilot dashboard, which is powered by Viva Insight, what we can start to do, one, is to be able to drill down on specific areas of the organization. So you can see here by the filters. And the example that I've got here is, I'm able to obtain, because Viva Insights, once you provision the license, it's going to go back and look at 13 or 27 months of historical graph data. It's going to pull all of that together in an aggregated view and now give you an idea of what was the average working behaviors for that group of people. So it says before these people receive the CoPilot license, you can see what their behaviors were like around meetings. You could see attended meetings 15, meeting hours, for example, and then also conflicted meetings. It's giving you those examples, but it's then saying, once you've turned on the CoPilot license, this is how those behaviors are changing or not. And we've got here the differential between them. So the ability to understand how working behaviors are shifting in the context of CoPilot is quite an interesting piece that Viva Insights can really help to do. Another interesting piece is being able to compare non-CoPilot users to CoPilot users, or different cohorts of CoPilot users. And the whole idea behind this is, I want to be able to understand differences in the metrics for those different working groups, right? So you can start to use look at employees who have a Viva Insights license but do not have a CoPilot license. What does it compare? How does it compare? Especially if they work in a similar role or capacity. So we're thinking about apples for apples, some with CoPilot licenses, some without, and the ability to be able to compare the two together. And look at the differential in behaviors. That's what we're looking at here. So you can see here in this particular area, I'm able to make comparisons between how many meetings those two different groups enter into. And that's the data that we're being provided by with Viva Insights. Okay. What we're able to do also is a side-by-side comparison. So as you can see here, for different working groups or departments, we can start to understand non-Copilot users and active Copilot users. What is the difference in their meeting hours, as an example? Okay. So the good news is I've covered all that I wanted to share today around Viva Insights. And just to recap for you, the first reason why I think you should get started on your Copilot journey is really about business optimization, giving you a level of MI and business intelligence to support managers and business leaders in how you support your people. The second point that I wanted to make is how can we start to bring survey data to life? Right, we got a clear understanding about how people feel, but what Viva Insights will give you is an understanding of how their working is impacting the way that they feel. And bringing those two sources together really gives you a holistic view on your employee listening. The third part is, how do we leverage Viva Insights to measure the impact of Copilot? And all I've shared with you here is how we can start to see how working behaviors have changed by the utilization of Copilot. What did life look like before Copilot, and what does it look like now? And for our customers, it gives them an opportunity to continually measure how it's impacting different parts of their workforce. So the last thing that I'll share with you is I have included a bunch of resources here that are going to be useful. So you'll see that there's links to the adoption guide, Advanced Insights Introduction, also bits around privacy and safeguard is a really important piece to look at. There is a video here that will give you a view of what Glint and Viva Insights looks like as an embedded platform. There's also some case studies on Viva Insights, and then of course there's also a Viva Insights community where you'll start to see things that are happening from time to time. So with that being said, thank you very much for joining. We are bang close to the 20-minute mark, so I'm going to stop there.
Thanks, Alvin. I think what we wanted to do is just show you the art of the possible. I think really, you know, we've delved into personal insights quite a lot over various sessions. But actually, do we understand where that data is coming from and how that data really knits together, and what the bigger picture is, or could be for an organization if they've got some of those premium capabilities of Viva Insights as well. So those great links are going to be able to tell you what features are in basic the version of Viva Insights and also the advanced one as well. Neil asked what licensing is required for those features demoed, and I think there was a lot of premium stuff in there, wasn't there? You know, a lot they report him.
Exactly. So for a baseline, it's Viva Insights, a Viva Insights license. And the distinction is you get seeded elements of Viva Insights with your E3, E5 license. And that comes as a seeded version, which is personal insight. So I can only see insights data for myself. If we're thinking about leaders, managers, and the business, looking at things from an aggregated perspective, you need a Viva Insights premium license.
Right, makes sense. Okay, and Delia asked a great question, and I haven't seen this. I know we're all about Copilot now. We're all really excited about Copilot. You showed a comparison report of life with Copilot and life without. We don't, by any chance, have any reports that do the same for Teams Premium, do we? Have you seen any of those?
I not at the moment.
No.
And the truth is, it's not something that couldn't be off the table. There's a lot that you can do with Viva Insights. You can bring custom data into Viva Insights to create your custom reports. So if you can access Teams Premium data through the admin center, there's no reason why you can't import it into the Viva Insights platform and start to create your own reports. But we do not provide it out of the box at the moment.
Neil also asks, does it require premium for everyone in the business, or just those that need to see the insights? So if you're the leader that wants to see those reports, is it just you that needs that premium license, or does the whole org need it?
So anybody that you want to include in the scope of the study will require Viva Insights license. It's not just the people that are doing the analysis. The license is effectively for aggregating that person's data.
Okay, makes sense. Brilliant. Well, we are at time. I told you 20 minutes goes really quick. So thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Thank you, Alvin, for that fantastic presentation. If you've got any feedback, you want to share what you want to see in the future, don't forget to fill in the survey data. The form is in the chat as well. And we'll be sharing this deck and a link to the YouTube video in the Superheroes community. So if you're not a member, definitely join. There's people like me from around the world all sharing great content, so loads to see there. And then upcoming sessions next week, we've got some of our early careers again coming back to talk to us about how they're using CoPilot and give some insights on how that's impacting their day to day. And then we're actually going to go back and visit the free version of CoPilot, so what used to be Bing Chat or Bing Chat Enterprise, and we're going to show you some great example use cases of how we've been using that as well. But that's it. Thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of your day. Thanks, everybody.